And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Hornets episode. So today we'll be discussing the starting five for the Hornets, which, get out in front of this ahead of time, it can be slightly confusing, but I will try and explain it, okay? The Hornets have been in multiple places, under multiple franchises, but the team that was originally the Hornets, that is best known for guys like Larry Johnson or Alonzo Mourning, Glenn Rice, those are still Hornets. Then they became the Bobcats. And then while they were the Bobcats, the New Orleans franchise picked up the Hornets name for a few years. And that's who became the Pelicans. But it's like a period there from like, I can't remember the exact years now. I had it written down and I didn't bring the paper. But from like 04 to 11 or something, those still count as Pelicans even though they were called the Hornets.
Yep. Isn't it Chris Paul's?
Yeah, when Chris Paul is there, yes.
Right,
Chris Paul does not count as a Hornet. He is a Pelican.
He'll be in a Pelican, yeah. That's weird to say.
Yes. So, and now the current Hornets are also still the Hornets. So we just have like a gap in the middle of their history. If that, I hope that made sense to everybody listening, but if not, you'll probably be able to make sense of it by the players we pick.
And maybe if I can make it a little simpler, if it was in New Orleans, it's New Orleans. If it's in Charlotte, it's Charlotte.
Yeah, that's a good way too. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you're right, Ray. All right, well, let's get started. Drew, who is your Hornets all-time point guard?
Kemba Walker.
He's also mine.
He's also mine.
He's mine.
That makes a number 5.
So unanimous point guard in Kemba Walker.
All right, well.
By the way, I like Muggsy Bogues, but it wasn't that hard of a choice for me. Like Kemba was legit, and
Muggsy was a triple single.
yeah.
It is tempting to put Muggsy
I
on
know.
this, so.
It is.
You probably think of Muggsy
Yeah.
before you think of.
The shortest player in NBA history, you know. It's
I mean,
amazing that he even played in the NBA,
Well,
really.
Space Jam.
Yeah, you think of him
Yeah.
in Space Jam, him and
Yeah.
Larry Johnson.
I mean, he's 5'3" and had like a 15-year career in the NBA. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Not just had a career. I mean, he was a quality player for a large part of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's a really good passer and stuff.
Yeah. So, Drew, what you got to say about old Kemba?
Well, Kemba was a 3-time All-Star in Charlotte. He averaged almost 20 points a game, 5 assists, and almost 4 rebounds. I obviously saw him play there. He's basically the face of the Hornets franchise. Well, there for a while. I mean, if it's him dropping 40 or 30 every night for them to be in the ball game most of the time.
He also made an All-NBA team.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, must have missed that one.
But yeah, his career averages in Charlotte are 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, a steal. He was a little bit of a volume guy. He shot like right below 42%, 35% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. I'll be honest with you, the thing that sticks out in my head most of Kemba is the NCAA tournament where he went off for UConn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I forgot he went to UConn. Yeah, that year they won. Yeah, I remember that.
But no, I always kind of liked Kemba. You know, he was a quality point guard there. After his knee injury, he's never really been the same. But
No, he hasn't been the same since then, which you kind of hate to see because then he finally got out of Charlotte, but then he just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, I think he had 1 or 2 good years in Boston, but then after that, he just hasn't at all been.
Yeah, his first year in Boston, he only played 56 games, but he averaged 20 points and 5 assists, so it wasn't like he was playing bad. And then the next year in Boston, he only played 43 games, but he averaged 19 and 5. So, I mean, it wasn't like he was playing bad when he played necessarily. He was just not playing very much.
Yeah.
And now he's not really playing at all. He got a 10-day contract with Dallas this year, but that's it.
Yeah. Once a really small guy gets a knee trouble and they lose some of that explosiveness, it's kind of over usually.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's their whole game.
Mhm.
Being quick.
Yep. Well, if you can't create space to get your shot off, you're screwed.
You're done.
So, all right. So, well, now that the anticlimactic point guard, let's move on to shooting guard. Wade, Who's your shooting guard?
Well, there's not some overly great options here to go with. But I went with a guy who didn't play there very long, but I've always liked him, and that was Eddie Jones.
Oh, Eddie Jones. I like Eddie. That's not my shooting guard, though.
Nope,
me neither.
nope, not mine.
With the Hornets, he averaged 19 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, just under 3 steals. Won a steals championship there. Made an all-defensive team. Made, I believe, was that his All-NBA year? Maybe. Yes, he made the All-NBA team there. And yeah, it was limited time, but
So how long did he play for him?
played there for 102 games,
No.
so a season and a half.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah, an elite defender. Made 3 all-defensive teams in his career. One with Charlotte. Like I said, had a steals championship and was also a 20-point per game scorer, 15 to 20 point per game scorer in his prime. To go with elite defense, and
I always liked Eddie Jones, and I always thought he was a nice contributor to the team. And I remember him playing for the Lakers. But when I think of Eddie Jones, I think Heat. That's just who I think of.
My thing with Eddie Jones was when he played with the Lakers, is he never showed up in the playoffs. It seemed like great regular season, and it seemed like they always figured out a way to shut him down in the playoffs.
Well, he was another guy that I would describe as he was good at a lot of things. I don't know that he was. I don't know that he was great at anything though. He was a good scorer. He wasn't a great scorer. He was a good defender. I wouldn't call him a great defender. So. But he was definitely a quality player to have on your team. I just don't think he could be a 1 or a 2 on a contender.
Now, did him and Vlade get traded together to Charlotte, or was that 2 separate trades?
Well, the Lakers ended up getting rid of Vlade and Elgin Campbell and Eddie Jones, all 3, and they all ended up in Charlotte, but I don't know how they all ended up there.
Yeah, I think the Vlade deal was for Kobe.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
think
Eddie was. I think Eddie was a separate deal.
Okay.
But I don't remember all the details now.
Yeah.
I think Eddie must have been a couple years later because I don't have his page pulled up anymore, but I think his first year in Charlotte was not like 99.
His first year in Charlotte was
98, 99.
98, 99. Yep.
Yeah, and
So they've been a couple years after.
Kobe was drafted in 96.
I think so.
Yeah.
So they would have been there at the same time for a couple years.
Yeah.
Because there for a while the Lakers used to have Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel and
and Nick the Quick
in the backcourt, and then they both ended up leaving, and Kobe came, and D. Fish came later. And
I have a interesting piece of information, maybe more interesting for Ray than for anybody else, but Eddie Jones is cousins with Tyrese Halliburton.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, at least he got trained up pretty decent then.
You would think so, yes. All right, well, Wade was by himself with Eddie Jones. So, Uncle Doug, who's your shooting guard?
Well, again, my guy wasn't there a long time, but my shooting guard was Glenn Rice.
He's also mine.
he's my small forward.
He's my small forward.
Oh, okay.
So-
Well, sounds like Glenn's in.
Yes.
Just got to one of those. We got to decide what spot.
So everybody had him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, but, 3 of us at
3 at shooting guard, 2 at small
Oh,
forward.
yeah. So 3 and 2.
Yep. There you go.
So, Uncle Doug, what do you got to tell us about old Glenn Rice?
Well, when he was with Charlie, he averaged 23 and a half, 4 rebounds, a couple assists. Just a great shooter.
He shot 44% from 3 in Charlotte.
Yeah.
44.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest year of his career came in Charlotte as well. He averaged just under 27 points per game in 96, 97. I mean, his run with Charlotte's pretty impressive. 21, just under 27, and then 22 points per game.
And he shot 47% from 3 in the year he scored 26 a game.
Yeah, led the league that year. Yeah, I mean, a 40% shooter from 3 for his whole career. So, I mean, he was an elite shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
84 from the line, which is super efficient. 45 from the field, which is really good for a guy that shoots a lot of jumpers.
Yes.
And he played in the 90s and early 2000s, not, to where people still got the hand check and stuff. So pretty impressive overall, really.
Well, here's the thing to think about. He shot 40% from three for his career. Not just 1 year, for his career. And he shot less than 4 a game. Like, if he played today, they'd ask him to shoot 12 or 15 times from three.
Yeah.
From three, not all in the game, for three.
Oh, yeah, imagine him. He'd be perfect for today's NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go from a really, really good, legitimate all-star in the 90s to probably up a level in today's NBA.
Yeah.
Some players would really translate well in today's NBA, and some wouldn't necessarily, but he would definitely translate in today's up and down shooting NBA.
Indeed. And he was a big body, so, you didn't have to, a lot of shooters, especially from that era, you kind of had to try and hide them on defense because they were tiny, like Kerr or Ainge or somebody like that. And, Glenn Rice was 6'8".
Yeah. He wasn't tiny either.
Oh, and you didn't get a shot off on guys. No, I was kind of like Glenn Rice as well.
And all of his all-star appearances came in Charlotte. I believe both of his All-NBAs came in Charlotte. So yeah.
And he won his championship in L.A.
Yeah.
He talks in the documentary. The video about it. Like the championship videos for each year.
Oh,
He
yeah.
actually talks in it. He's funny to listen to.
Well, I didn't realize how big a role he had on the. I knew he was with the Lakers for a short period of time, but I thought he'd already declined. But he had a couple of really nice years for the Lakers, really.
Well, every year during that three-peat, they picked up an aging star and put him on the team, but he was really the only one that panned out.
Yeah, that really contributed a lot.
Because then they brought in Mitch Richmond, and he just couldn't get healthy.
No.
And then they brought in Isaiah Ryder, who was crazy.
Yeah, he
Isaiah Ryder, yeah.
Horace Grant came there for a year.
I think Horace Grant was there on the first one because they signed Horace Grant and Ron Harper.
Yeah.
They brought both those
I don't
guys
remember
in.
which one.
Ron Harper.
Grant was either the first one or the second one. I don't remember which one he was on.
I think those guys were both there on the first. That first team was a lot better than the other two teams, because
but that second team's the one that dominated everybody. Besides losing the first game,
Kobe took a giant step forward in between the first and the second, I think.
Mm-hmm. Because Fisher and Ori didn't start for that initial team.
No,
they came off the bench because Harper and Grant were there.
And you had Rick Fox.
Yeah,
and Rick Fox was actually a really important piece of those teams.
Yeah.
By the third one, Rick Fox, Derek Fisher, and Big Shot Bob were playing a lot more.
They had a lot of really good role players that were along to go with
Well,
Kobe
wasn't
and Shaq.
AC Green still there in the first one?
I believe he was.
That motherfucker played forever.
He did.
He never quit playing. He's probably still
after he
secretly
left the
NBA.
Lakers, he went to the Suns and the Mavericks or someplace.
Yeah,
He's
he's
played for a while longer.
He's one of those players that's way up there on the all-time list in games played and stuff. He played forever.
Well, you can't tell me you don't want Robert Ory if you're making a playoff run. You don't want him on the roster.
Or D Fish.
Or D. Fish.
D Fish had a bunch
That's
of clutch moments, and
Rick Fox. He played great defense on people.
he was a great defender and did all your dirty work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still missing somebody's shooting guard, right?
No, I had Glenn as shooting guard.
Right, but 3 of us had Glenn Rice and 1 of us had Eddie Jones, so that means we're missing one.
Drew.
Me and
Oh,
you,
Drew.
right?
No, I had Glenn Rice.
Oh.
So it's
And
just
who?
It's just you.
Just you.
You said you had Glenn at 3.
So who's your shooting
Yeah.
guard?
Oh, I put Del Curry as my shooting guard.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't know. He wasn't the greatest there, but he's probably one of the ones that's been there the longest.
Yeah.
I think he won a 6th Man of the Year there, and he's
Yeah.
there 10 years.
Yeah.
For a franchise that struggles with,
and I
being relative
think
and
he's
stuff,
their
he
all-time
is.
leading scorer and stuff.
Yeah. He's an iconic figure to that specific franchise.
He was there 10 years, and he averaged 14, 2, and 3.
He was
So,
like
it's not like his stats are like dog shit.
Right.
He's
And he does have a beautiful shot.
He does.
Oh, he was a phenomenal shooter.
I mean,
he's an
I-
all-time fan favorite for Hornets people.
I just figured him at shooting guard more than Glenn Rice, since, I don't know, I just thought Glenn was more of a small forward, so that's why I put Dell
Yeah.
at the 2.
Well, and he's also a career 40% three-point shooter.
Yeah.
He also has a season where he shot 47% from three.
Yeah. And again, if he had played today,
Be like his two sons.
Mhm.
yeah, like his two sons,
I think he would be more like Seth
Yeah.
because he wasn't a ball handler.
right.
Yeah, he'd
but-
depend on other people to get him the ball when he's
Yeah.
open.
Right.
Yeah, but Seth is a shooting
He
So he'd
is.
be perfect to play with LeBron.
shooting boy.
Just
Right.
spot up,
Yeah.
LeBron kicking the ball and shoot it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
It was hard for him to thrive even back then in Charlotte when they weren't asked to do that as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If he played today with like LeBron or Giannis or someone like that, that
Luka.
drove and kicked a lot. Yeah, Luka. It'd be.
Or even Jokic.
Oh, he'd be doing what
Jokic
his-
finds spots for him.
Oh, he missed it. So that'd be a perfect moment. if Seth made that shot, but he rimmed out. But yeah. So all right. So we're done with the guards.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So that would be small forwards. Two of you, that would be Wade and Drew, correct? Have
Yeah.
Glenn Rice as your small forward.
Correct.
Yep.
So the other three of us need ours. So Uncle Doug, who's your small forward?
Gerald Williams.
Is it Wallace?
Wallace.
Jared Wallace, yeah.
Wallace, sorry.
Yes, I have Gerald Wallace as well.
Yep, sorry.
I figured when you guys didn't have Eddie Jones, he had to be the other wing.
Yeah.
If
Yes, he was. He had quite a little run there too.
Two of you? Just two?
I guess it was me and Uncle Doug.
Okay.
So you don't have Rice or Wallace, right, Ray, as your small forward?
No, I haven't even said a small forward yet.
we're gonna end up with more people than I thought we would. To be
Yeah.
honest, I thought we'd have maybe like one or
Well,
like
wait,
one
like,
position.
like
to
I
argue
always
about.
say, we're going to rally at the end. At least I hope so for this.
I mean, let's hope so.
Yeah.
So Wallace played 7 seasons in Charlotte. He averaged 16. Hold on, screwed up my scrolling here.
7.5 and 2.4.
Yes, and he averaged a block and a steal.
Yeah.
He was a good defender.
Oh yeah, he's a really good defender.
47% from the field, 32 from 3, and 72% from the line.
Made all defensive team, steals champ. I'm not sure that was all while he was there, though.
He did get the steals championship while he was there.
His all defensive team came in Charlotte.
Yeah, because he was the only player in the history of the league. I don't know if he still is, but when he did it, he was the only player in the history of the league to average like 2 and 2 or something, like 2 steals and 2 blocks in the same season.
Yeah, that was 05-06 when he did that.
Yeah, he averaged 2.5 steals and 2 blocks.
Yeah, his lone all defensive team and all star appearance both came in 09-010 with Charlotte.
And his last year in Charlotte, he averaged a double-double. 18 points, 10 rebounds.
Yeah. Figure with his defense and Rice's shooting.
Yeah. He was a good all-around player.
Yes, I agree. He's the kind of guy that is useful on a team like this. You know, we're talking about, like, great teams that are, like, stacked. So, like, you don't have to give Joe Wallace the ball for him to be effective.
Right.
He's going to go rebound. He's going to play hard-nosed defense. He's going to hustle and set screens and do those types of things.
Every championship team has a guy like him
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
does all that stuff.
Like Wade said, does your dirty work.
Yep.
He doesn't complain about it.
Yeah. Except the crazy part, those Charlotte teams back then were so bad. He was by far the best player. For
Yes,
a while.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he did have some really nice seasons, but he shouldn't have been the best player on an NBA team, probably. But
No, but there was a reason they weren't even making the playoffs.
well,
Like-
they have the record for the lowest winning percentage in a season, I think. Like one season, it was like a shortened season, and they went like 9 and 60 something or something like that. I don't remember what the exact amount was, 9 and 50 something or something like that.
There's another technical or something in this game.
We're watching the Nets 76ers game while we're doing this, guys. Sorry. And somebody from 76ers got teed up.
Again,
That's hard.
I don't know why they're getting so emotional. They're playing the Nets without Kevin Durant, so they should just go out there and
Well, when I was watching
Get
before we
to it.
started, Kyrie was starting to tear him up. Kyrie had scored a couple and assisted on a couple and had a couple nice defensive plays. Actually, he was actually playing really well. But I don't know what I can't even hardly see now.
I thought it was Montrezl Harrell.
shocker.
But That's been the problem in Philly for quite a while. They're very mentally fragile.
Claxton.
Claxton's having a really nice season.
Yeah.
He's getting Defensive Player of the Year buzz. He's having a nice year, but
He's leading the league in field goal percentage.
yes, but he's also shooting like 40% from the free throw line.
Yeah. Well, he's the one last year in the playoffs that missed like 11 straight free throws in the playoff games.
Mm. All right, so Ray, you used to have a small forward for us, correct?
Uh-huh.
So who you got?
Larry Johnson.
Oh,
Push him down to 3.
That's
Yeah.
my power forward.
That's my
Oh,
power
That's
forward.
my power forward.
So Larry's in, just different spots.
this ought to be interesting. Who you got at the 4 and the 5 then, Ray?
I'm guessing
Yeah.
Morning and Vlade.
No,
Going the Twin Towers.
you got one out of the two.
Well, what do you got to tell us about old Larry
Well,
Johnson?
Like Alonzo and Dell and Muggsy Bogues. He was kind of the face of the franchise there for a while. Grandma Ma, commercial spots, tough guy, throw it down, he could drive on you, knock an elbow jumper in your face, body you up on defense. Just a real solid, small forward, power forward, wherever you want to put him at. Just a real solid player. Then, like we were talking off air, he got injured, and then it just fell apart for the guy.
He's a what-if story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his time in Charlotte, he's a pretty great power forward. And then he was, a knee injury?
Knee, yep.
Yeah, and it takes away his explosiveness.
19, 9, and 4. So 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, while shooting almost 50% from the field, 34% from 3, and 77% from the line. So, I mean, he was doing nice. And like Wade said, he lost his explosiveness, which he needed because he was undersized.
Right, yeah, he wasn't that tall.
6'7".
And when Ray said he could throw it down, that's a bit of an understatement. That dude could.
And he was built, too.
Yeah, he was.
They weren't pushing him around.
He was a brick shithouse down there, and he was very explosive, and even later when he lost some of that explosiveness, when he was with the Knicks, when they would bully people in that era, when you had him and Ewing
And Anthony Mason.
yeah, like they were beating on. I mean, you can't move any of those guys.
Mm-mm.
Larry Johnson might have been the buffest out of them all.
Yeah.
He was huge, and another Space Jam guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Space Jam.
It's
yeah.
funny, 2 Space Jam guys came from Charlotte.
By the way, guys, I
They
have,
were
to,
good
I,
at that
I have to tell
time.
you
Hey.
something disappointing. Because my wife allows for them to watch it, when you say Space Jam to my boys,
Oh no!
they think LeBron, not
Oh.
We're gonna have to watch the old one with them.
I got the old one on Blu-ray right across right there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've even seen the new one.
I've
Yeah.
never seen it either.
I watched
I-
it once.
I was like, no, I'm not watching
My
that.
curiosity got the best of me. I couldn't.
So how was
I
it?
boycotted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
LeBron's definitely not a good actor.
No,
But-
he's not.
I mean, I'm not saying Michael was phenomenal either, but it was a bit much. It was just too much.
Well, I walked in today and the boys were watching it, so I saw a little tiny bit of it. The one thing that I did find kind of funny though is like they go like the Toon Squad's playing, the Goon Squad or whatever, and they go in at halftime and they're getting beat and they're all like down in the dumps, and Sylvester runs in and is like, "I found Michael Jordan."
Oh, yeah.
And they're like they all get even LeBron gets like really excited, and it's Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Larry Johnson, Grandmama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Larry Johnson. I was disappointed when his career, kind of took a downturn after his knee injury. Another guy that had an injury that kind of derailed his career, but today that injury wouldn't have been anything.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
he'd be back.
Yeah, he would have been back a year later doing the same things.
Oh yeah, easy. And he actually, which was rare back then in the 90s and stuff, he shot some threes,
Mm-hmm.
which today they would have encouraged him to shoot more and stretch the floor, while being super explosive going to the basket. So he really would have been a great weapon, and well, really in any era of basketball. But
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I would say he's an all-time great college basketball player.
Oh yeah.
He
The
was.
UNLV.
Yeah, he was. The Running Rebels were a whole
Yeah.
good when he was there.
Yes, they were.
Didn't they win a national title? or 2 or something?
They lost one to Duke.
Well,
they lost that one.
Okay.
If Mark was here, Mark would go on a huge tangent about this. Mark loves that UNLV team.
They were good.
He gushes over them.
They never won one. They just lost to
I
Duke.
think they did win one.
Maybe they won one and lost when they went back to repeat or something.
Maybe that was it.
Something
I
like
think you're right. They did lose one to Duke. Didn't
Yeah, I know they lost one to Duke because that was that Leitner team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was that when he hit that game winner? Or was that
No, that was the get to it against Kentucky.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
That was a stomp game, wasn't it?
Right. It
Yeah.
is. That's the game.
And he never should have been in.
Shouldn't even been in the game.
No,
Yeah.
that's why we all hate Christian Laettner.
Yeah.
Was it
By the way,
was it
though, that
documentary?
documentary is good, though.
Yeah.
cool.
Have y'all never watched it?
I've seen part of it.
I watched
I've
part of
seen
it. It's just hard because it focuses
No,
It's
on.
called I Hate Christian Laettner.
No, I'm a Carolina guy. Like, I can't stand Duke, can't stand Christian Laettner, but they did a good job with that documentary.
It was really
because
nice.
the whole documentary is about why we hate Christian
Right,
Laettner.
yeah.
So I mean,
Oh, no, UNLV won a national title in 1990, and they beat Duke by a record-setting margin, 103-73. They became the first team to score over 100 points in a championship game.
what happened next year?
I knew they won one.
Honestly,
They lost to Duke in '91.
There you go.
Oh,
See,
okay.
it was, yeah.
So we were all kind of right.
yeah.
There we
I said
go.
I knew they won one.
I was like, 'cause I could
One
have
of those years, was the year they won it, were they undefeated?
Oh, that might have been.
Or were they undefeated and then lost to Duke and didn't finish the season undefeated? Anyway, back to back, they were awesome.
Wasn't there really another super dominant player with Larry Johnson?
The point guard.
That was-
Stacey Augman
Well, Stacey Augman was there.
played, and then there was he
Uh,
was like a versatile shooting guard, Then there was a point guard.
Was Atkins, wasn't it?
crap.
The year they won, they were 35-5.
Okay.
And the next year,
Point guard.
next year they were 34-1.
That's it. Yeah. So has it got the roster, Drew?
Oh, let me see. David Butler, Larry Johnson, Anderson Hunt, Travis Bice, Brian Emerson, Dave Rice. Trying to look at guards. Greg Anthony.
Greg Anthony.
Anthony,
That's what it
there we
was. I
go.
said Atkins. It was Greg Anthony.
Yeah, Greg Anthony.
Yep.
Yeah, because they had three guys that, Anthony, Augman, and Johnson, all good careers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Augman played like 16 or 17 years.
Yeah, he played a long time.
Yeah. All right. So that's everybody's small forward and 4 of our power forwards.
Yep.
Okay.
So I guess back to Ray. Who's your power forward?
Mika Okafor.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I always liked Okafor. I wanted the Orlando to draft Okafor the year he came out because we had the number 1 overall pick and we took Dwight.
Yeah.
Emeka
which
did have.
ended up well, but
Sorry. Emeka did have some really nice seasons to start off his career. I will say that.
Didn't he get hurt? Something happened to him?
yeah, he hurt his knee too
Yeah.
He was also very.
and his back. I think. Yeah,
I
sorry.
remember reading a lot. Like he was like freakishly intelligent. Like when he was at UConn and stuff. Like he would sit there with a book and study on the bench and stuff when they were blowing teams out.
Well, he graduated in 3 years.
Yeah, like he was a freak.
Yeah.
But they said like obviously he was like an all-time great college player, and he was a pretty good NBA player for at least a chunk of time, and then but he seemed to be the kind of person that was super intelligent and had a lot of other interests and stuff that he wanted to do and learn about. So he wasn't necessarily 100% dialed in on just being an all-time great basketball player. So I feel like he's someone that if he would have just devoted his time and like that part of his life to just becoming the best he could be at basketball, I feel like we'd be having a different conversation. But he seemed like, he liked playing basketball, but he didn't seem to like really love it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of other things he cared about and was interested in.
By the way, I was wrong. He had a career-ending neck injury.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I remember there being an injury. I just remember what.
He played defense, he rebounded, and he had a few years where his scoring was solid.
His career numbers in Charlotte are 14 points, 10 rebounds, almost 1 assist, almost 1 steal, and 2 blocks,
Yeah.
shooting 50% from the field.
Pretty solid. Funny
Mm.
story. When he first got, you remember how huge he was? Because wasn't it him and Dwight that
Yeah.
were at the top of that draft?
Yep.
Yeah, and he was all huge, and then he went to Charlotte, and he had those really cool orange Charlotte Bobcat
Oh.
jerseys. Well, I got one. Me and Alex both had lots of jerseys.
Mhm.
And back at this point in time, like I had tons and tons of basketball jerseys. And I got this Emeka Okafor one, and Colt had this really Colt's one of my best friends from growing up. He had this really cool like alternate throwback authentic Paul Pierce Celtics jersey, and we made a bet and we played 1-on-1, and I beat Colt. So I got his Paul Pierce. We had to switch jerseys, and then says I wanted the Paul Pierce one, and he still has that old Emeka Okafor jersey because everyone thought he was going to be great, and I got this super crazy nice like $300 Paul Pierce jersey, and he ended up with a Emeka Okafor. So I love telling that story. Daddy's 3-point shooting comes in handy sometimes.
Fair enough. Oh, sorry, Drew.
No, you're good.
Just elbowed Drew here. Couldn't take him out. All right, so that's everybody's power forward now. So what's the chances we all have the same center?
Probably a good one.
Probably pretty good.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Well, I have Alonzo Mourning.
As do I.
As do I.
Yeah.
That makes 5.
All right, so we have our point guard. We have our center. We have 2 other guys on the roster. We just don't know what position they play yet.
Yes.
So the only we can't name a position that we don't have because the 2, the 3, and the 4 all have somebody on it that is on the team. It's a possibility they play there.
So we have 2 other guys that are automatically on.
Glenn Rice and Larry Johnson are on.
We just have to settle position.
Yeah.
You just have to settle a position.
The switching position is what makes this so complicated. At
It
the
does.
End. But yeah, I thought.
But before we do that, let's talk about Alonzo for a minute. Most people probably remember Alonzo as a Heat player, but he did start his career in Charlotte, where he averaged 21 points, 10 rebounds, an assist, and 3 blocks, shooting 51% from the field and 76% from the free throw line.
I mean, he's an Hall of Fame center that played with Charlotte, so he was going to go on the list.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Charlotte Hornets. I mean,
I agree.
And he was, yeah. If he wouldn't have played in the era he played in, I think he'd be a more well-known. I mean, I do think he is fairly well-known for most basketball fans. I think most people know who Alonzo Mourning is. He's probably the most iconic player in their history, I would say, and most accomplished. But
he's the only Hall of Famer we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, he's above everybody else that we've talked about, and I lost my train of thought. Oh, well, I think the only thing that really hurts him is he played in the greatest center era of all time, so he got overshadowed by Robinson and Olajuwon and Ewing and Shaq and all those guys. I mean, Dikembe, and there was more that came on later on. And those are all top 10 guys outside maybe Dikembe.
And he came from Georgetown too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Georgetown was pumping out centers.
Well, him and Mutombo played together at Georgetown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think between when he played, again, he got a little overshadowed, and his little illness in the middle of his career that kind of messed up his career.
Yeah.
Were the 2 things that kind of, I think he could have been even a little more recognized or maybe a little greater if we didn't have that unfortunate illness in the middle of his career. But still a phenomenal player.
We're talking about a guy that's career average in blocks per game is 2.8. I think he's top 5 all time in blocks. He has 2 all defensive teams because he played at the same time as Mutombo and Olajuwon and Robinson
And Ewing
and Shaq. So he has 2 defensive player of the years and 2 all defensive teams.
I mean, but at the same time, though, it's pretty amazing. You play with like 5 of the top 10 greatest centers ever, and you still come away with 7 All-Stars and 2 All-NBAs and 2 Defensive Player of the Years and 2 All-Defensive Teams and 2-time block champion, and that's pretty legit.
And he was also on that 2006 championship team with Shaq and D. Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're Charlotte. He deserves to be the unanimous center as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I had to talk Ray out of putting Tyler Zeller on his team. But
hey, don't be putting my name through the dirt now.
So, all right, guys. Well, we need to make some decisions here.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Glenn Rice and Larry Johnson are on, but we need to decide what position they're playing.
So really, we need to figure out between Eddie Jones, Del Curry, and Gerald Wallace and Emeka Okafor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got what we got. Ray had Okafor,
Yep.
correct? Drew had Del Curry. I had Eddie, and then Alex and Uncle
and I.
Doug had Wallace.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, of course, Alex and I have 2 votes. Everybody else is 1.
Oh
That's
boy,
It's true.
this whole vote thing is so much more complicated.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think of the best. Which spot do we want to go for first? The wing spot, or figure out the power forward, the forward stuff, or the guard stuff first?
Well, since we're just trying to figure out one position, do we want... I guess it's not really, I was going to say.
They're all connected.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's a mess. All right, let's just start at the forward spots.
Because if you put Larry at power, then whoever has him at small.
I think Ray has him at small.
Yeah.
So why did you go for Okafor and then push Larry down? What was the
Okay,
thing
so
with Okafor?
Larry Johnson's probably a little bit better off the dribble,
Mm-hmm.
and he could probably create his own stuff. Where you have Okafor, who's really just basically a defender and post-up player, which I kind of had to put him down low because that's all he is defense. With Larry Johnson, he probably needs to roam around and create a shot or do something with the ball.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of what we're looking at here is, do you want to have Okafor's shot blocking, or are you looking at somebody like Gerald Wallace's overall defense? Because Larry Johnson's on the team, it's just a matter of which guy's spot he's taking.
Right.
Yeah. It also depends on what kind of team we want. Do we want to have bigger guys, I guess, or how do we want?
I don't know. I would say everyone had morning. I went Larry at the 4. So then, in my personal opinion, at least as far as what they did in Charlotte, I think what Glenn Rice did in Charlotte, he was either the second or third best player on that list, I think. I think it was Morning, and either him or Johnson. So I figured them being the 5, 4, and the 3, I thought were perfect. Then obviously we all had Kimba, and then I thought Eddie. I understand the Gerald Wallace part. I think him and Eddie are pretty close. They both made all defensive teams. They both scored around the same amount. They just scored in different ways. Eddie passed a smidge bit more. Gerald rebounded a little bit more. So if we wanted to put Gerald Wallace in there, I'd be cool with that. But
By the way, he has 2 nicknames listed on here, and I've never heard of either one of them.
which one are you talking about?
Gerald Wallace, sorry.
Oh, okay.
G-Force and Crash.
I think I have heard of Crash. The other one, no. Crash just sound familiar.
Crash just sounds like oh, it's Crash. It's the video game.
Oh,
Crash
Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rudy just got dunked on. Yep. He was standing in the way, so the Pelicans jumped up in his.
It's not like it's a big surprise.
Just had to let the viewers or the listeners know that Rudy's getting exposed in the regular season now.
All right, so let me ask this, because we haven't really asked it. Is anybody in the room been convinced that their guy may not make the cut? Like they've decided themselves that maybe they weren't as good as the rest of the guys.
I mean, we can take Del Curry off. I'm not.
Okay, so
Sit on. That's fine. We can take him off. It's not.
Okay.
Then who you moving your shooting guard to?
Yeah. You could either go to Eddie with me or push Glenn. Or wait, no, you have Glenn at the.
No.
Or you
I'll
could push
go to Eddie with you, Wade,
Okay.
because I have Glenn at small forward, so I'll go to Eddie.
Okay.
Okay. This is starting to shape up.
Oh, at least we got someone out of the way here.
right, we got somebody off the list.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought talk a little bit about Dell. I mean, I think you think about him when you think about the Hornets.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
he's definitely in. Like I said earlier, I think he's one of the most popular Hornets players their franchise has ever had.
Kind of toned down our arguing from the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
There was some pretty
Yeah.
fierce arguments in the last couple.
I don't know. Maybe it's because we just don't. With the Hornets, it's just
We don't care.
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't care as much.
Is there anybody on this team that would? Okay, let me rephrase this. Jared Wallace, good defender.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to stack up against? We'll just go with the main guy, Jordan.
Nobody guards Jordan.
Well, he would.
Go to John Starks.
Could he have guarded John Starks? I would say so.
Okay.
You think John Starks is gonna make a list?
No. I'm
Oh,
just-
okay. Or I should say a list, a team.
Larry.
What about against Dwayne Wade?
Oh. Gerald Wallace guard Dwayne Wade. Again, we're talking about an all-time great, so I mean, Dwayne Wade's gonna get what he wants. But I mean, Gerald Wallace was a big guy that was also very athletic. So I mean, he was kind of fairly tall, wasn't he?
He's 6'7".
Yeah. So, and he was pretty strong and really athletic,
Yeah.
and so he can match up with a lot of people.
Would he be guarding them though? Because they'd be shooting guards. Would they?
He was a very versatile defender. I mean,
He was.
that was
Yeah.
his biggest
Well, I
calling
mean,
card.
At 6'7", he was steals champ one year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he averaged 2.5 steals and 2 blocks in the same year.
Yes, I don't know. It's just tough because you got. I don't know. I guess the way I put it together, you have the two top guys or two big guys, and then they just kind of just kill everybody in the paint. I'd want to say, and then we get to Gerald Wallace, and then I don't really know where I would put him at.
Well, let me ask you this, Ray. What are you trying to accomplish with 3 big guys?
Well, I don't really consider Larry Johnson the big guy. I mean, he's muscular, and was he weigh like 200, 220?
255, I think.
255?
He was huge.
Ray,
He
you're
was-
saying
he
he
was
was huge.
ginormous.
he was the second coming of Charles Barkley.
Ray, do you not remember his Monstar?
Oh,
He's
yes,
freaking
yes.
huge.
Yeah.
Fat. He was built.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
But he didn't really move like a big guy. He moved like a guard, though.
He was very
No, that's-
explosive.
that's-
He's explosive, but that's what I'm saying. That was what I was getting ready to say was, is he going to be able to guard any wings?
like when we say, for an example,
Could Larry Johnson guard, say, Kevin Durant?
no.
No.
Or like even like an episode, we're gonna be doing here soon. Like, could he guard Pippen? I don't think so. Not that Larry Johnson. I'm not saying he was a terrible defender, but I think
He
he
needs to
can
be
use
held.
his strength more down low.
You can keep
Yeah.
him at the 4 on the guys that aren't moving as much.
Yeah, he's gonna bully people
Yeah.
down low. If you put him on the perimeter, people are gonna run by him.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's better if he stays more.
Okay. That's valid. Okay.
so and I
I'll
well,
gi-
I don't. I like Emeka Okafor. I personally think he's the worst person left on the list. But
I liked Okafor. Like I said, I really liked that UConn team. I mentioned them earlier, but they. I agree with Wade. I was trying to be nicer about it, but yeah, I agree with Wade. I think he's the worst player left.
Okay.
So
Eddie Jones.
I would say, yeah, you could either go.
So yeah, if you would take Okafor off and move Larry to a power forward, then you can pick any of the small forwards or shooting guards. And
Yeah. Where did you have Glenn Rice? Shooting guard or small forward?
Shooting guard.
Okay. So you'd either have to bump him up to the small to replace Larry and go to Eddie, or you would just take off Emeka and move Larry to power, and then have go on the Gerald Wallace side.
I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do Johnson at 4. We'll put Eddie at 2.
Okay.
That's how we do.
There we
And
go.
that's how I do it.
so we're everybody's in on Larry Johnson at power forward now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
so they should
very
all 5
good.
be there.
So
All right,
weird.
so we got our 1, our 4, and our 5. And Glenn Rice is going to be one of the other 2 spots.
Yeah.
Whereas
Just-
between Gerald and Eddie for
Yeah.
one of the
Just
wings.
whether
to
Glenn's
decide
playing the
Gerald
2 or the
and
3.
So what were Eddie's numbers?
With Charlotte, I haven't pulled up right now. He has 19 points, 2.8 steals, 4 assists, 4.5 rebounds, shot 84% from the line, shot 37% from 3. Wait, make sure I'm on the right team. Yes, 37 from 3, and shot 43 from the field. And made an all-defensive team, got a steals championship, and made an all-star team there. And an all-NBA. I think him and Gerald are really pretty close together. Obviously, Gerald's a little bigger and could do like more of like guard 3s and 4s, while Eddie was more of a guard 2s and 1s. They were both elite defenders, both decent scorers.
So let me ask you this: does the time spent there play any role here?
Maybe. I mean, this franchise sucks. I mean, who really cares?
They do.
You could
I
be-
mean, is there any way this franchise isn't a first round exit in the tournament?
No. I mean,
I don't know. It's hard to tell this early because I don't know what the rest of the bottom of the Eastern Conference will look like.
they're going to be on the lower side of the East, so they're going to get matched up against a big dog.
Yeah.
They're going to end up
The
against...
Celtics or the Sixers or
yeah.
the Milwaukee.
They're going to be on the lower side of the East, so they're going to match up against one of the top 3 or 4 teams that we're going to make in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
So I don't...
they'll probably. I don't think Jared Wallace or Eddie Jones is going to define them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Winning a
Neither
series.
one of them are
Either
going
way, not a game
They're getting
changer.
bounced in our tournament at the end
Yeah,
of this.
yeah.
So, like I said, I'm not... Yeah. They would both work, Wallace or Eddie. They have similar accolades there, do similar things.
It's
One's
just-
just a little bigger.
All right, where would you prefer to have Glenn play?
I mean, I had him at the 3.
Yeah, I have Glenn at the 3. That's where.
I mean, he's 6'8". He's listed as a small forward, so I went with small forward. I mean, I'm not saying he can't play the shooting guard position, but... And then Eddie is... Eddie's actually 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
6'6" shooting guard. I mean, if you went with Wallace, you'd have a bigger team. Be on the bigger side with Eddie
Yeah.
Jones. You'd have a quicker, smaller team, maybe.
Yeah, it's like what you're saying, Wade. It's really we want to kind of have bigger guys and
Yeah.
then just have Kimbo. If we want to have 2 smaller guards and then the 3.
Think of it this way: if we're trying to make the best team possible, though, for the Hornets, even though we just talked about they're going to get bounced, Kimbo Walker is not a good defender in any way.
He's a
shape, or form.
liability.
Eddie
Yeah.
Jones will have to guard the best guard, and he can.
And you have Kimba just chase around the shooter on the other team.
Yeah. While
Then we can have
you
the
know,
other 3.
So like if they say like they got matched up against like the Bulls, like Gerald Wallace would probably end up on Pippen, and then Eddie Jones would be on Jordan or something like that, and then you'd hide Kimba on like Ron Harper. Or wait, no, I was thinking of the actual Bulls team on like Derrick Rose or whoever you put there.
You're gonna hide him on Derrick Rose.
Over Jordan? I mean,
That's true. You can't put him on Jordan.
Yeah, I know, I didn't
it's
know.
Jordan.
I mean,
or Derrick Rose.
Hide him on Rob.
Yeah, but what is Rodman going to have? 50 rebounds that game
Yeah.
with Kimball Walker
They're
on
going to
him?
get 14 possessions like down.
Yeah.
You know. Every time they miss, Robin's going to get the
See,
rebound.
there we go. First round exit against the Chicago Bulls because Kimball Walker can't.
They actually might get matched up against the Bulls in the tournament because they'll be one of the worst, and the Bulls will probably be in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually a possibility that'll happen.
All right, so who do we want?
Well, here, I like both of them, but ultimately Eddie has more votes. I mean, if you look at it,
Yeah, if we do
I mean,
go to the
Eddie
board.
has 3-2 over Wallace.
Yeah. No,
So if we go to the boards, we know what's happening.
Yeah.
it's true. And I think none of us are very passionate about
attached.
the Hornets. So
Yeah.
No.
And I really like Eddie. I mean,
And we've,
Yeah.
we've already said multiple times, they're getting bounced.
so.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so what, does that mean we're going with Eddie Jones then?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm fine
Okay.
with it, yeah.
All right, so that would make
Well,
our
one vote
Hornets
got on.
all-time starting 5 be point guard Kimball Walker, shooting guard Eddie Jones, small forward Glenn Rice, power forward Larry Johnson, and center Alonzo Mourning. I will say, outside of Kimba, though, this would be a pretty decent defensive team.
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
Well, yeah. You go to drive in the paint, and you got to run through Johnson and Morning.
That's going to hurt.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, those are two monsters.
And get the ball over an elite shot blocker.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an all-time elite shot blocker right there.
And you'll have to, if you're guy on the perimeter trying to drive towards those guys, you're going to have a 6'8" guy in Glenn Rice right in your face.
Yeah.
Or a 6'6" shooting guard in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're underestimating them.
No, I don't think so.
We should have put LaMelo on there. They'd be winning.
Oh God.
Not like LaMelo plays a ton of defense either.
Oh, I mean, the other option's Kimba. It don't matter. Might as well should have put the 5'3" guy out there.
I was
Put
gonna say,
Muggsy out there.
Muggsy, yeah.
Talk, he at least got a lot of steals and he was really quick and keep up with people. Everyone just shot over him. But
What do you mean you can shoot over him?
yeah, Callie could. I mean, ooh,
Come on, Claxton, bully and B.
All right, well,
he's going to the line.
that ends our Hornets portion of this episode, and will lead us into our new segment, or new-ish segment, current NBA, or NBA Today.
Yeah.
Should we
NBA
tell them like
today.
what date it is so they know what we're
Yes, we are still ahead of time on some of these episodes. So today is January 25th. So
2023.
yeah,
We're not that far.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Laker fans, your team made a trade this week. Would you like to discuss that?
Does that say it all?
Yeah, like,
I don't know. When I looked at the guy's stats and we traded Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-rounders, I was like, huh?
I'll be honest with you. I thought you guys fleeced the Wizards.
Really?
Yeah, I thought
That's what
it was a
Dad told me. I
complete
don't
fleece.
know.
First
Yeah.
off, second round picks mean exactly dick in the
Right.
NBA,
You
and
can buy him for a little bit of money.
and Kendrick Nunn doesn't even play for you guys.
No, and when he does,
When he does,
he
he doesn't
fouls.
play well.
Oh, yeah, he fouls.
And like Rui Hachimura is a decent young player. Like he's only 23, I think.
And he's shooting something. What was the percentage you said the other night from threes? And he's shooting.
He's shooting upper 40s from the field.
Oh, from the
I'm
field.
not sure
I
what
thought you
he's
said.
shooting.
Oh, I thought you said from 3 the other night.
I don't know. I mean,
But I don't think he's gonna change us from the 12th team in the West to
No,
middle of the pack.
that's kind of what I was thinking.
But then the other day, what was it? Rob Pelinka said that we're not done making moves yet. I'm like, what are we gonna do? Oh, who was it they were talking about trading with the Wizards? Or not the Wizards, Westbrook. They said we're gonna trade the Westbrook to the Spurs. But I'm like, what do the Spurs have that we want?
Nobody.
Their number one
Or
pick?
whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, Rui Hachimura is shooting 48% from the field and 35% from 3.
Yeah. Averaging 13 and 4.3. Had a season high 30 over the weekend against the Magic.
He's a guy who could be a role player for you guys for a while if you decide to keep him. He could be a piece of a very large
Yeah.
puzzle, but
Yeah.
he's not going to put the whole puzzle together by himself.
Well, and I think he's a restricted free agent, whereas Nunn's an unrestricted free agent.
Mhm.
So if we lose him, we might at least get something.
yes,
Yeah.
he is a restricted free agent. Yes.
Yeah, none will just leave.
Right. And
Can you blame him at this
I
point?
said that's okay.
Although Anthony Davis is back.
Yeah, he's playing tonight.
Yeah,
For how long?
Well, I think
They get a 10-game stretch out of it.
We might
I
talk about him.
I think the
next
other thing
episode.
with Hachimura is this makes it easier on LeBron when Anthony Davis plays the 5 because they can have Hachimura play the 4 and LeBron doesn't have to do it.
Right.
Because you know how LeBron whines and complains when he has to play in the post with big guys.
Well, the funny thing about LeBron, I got into an argument the other day at school
Oh boy.
about supposedly how LeBron takes steroids. People were talking about how he's in such a great shape, and I said, LeBron's on steroids. And they all looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like,
That's funny.
look it up and find it. And they started doing research, and they started finding some stuff about it. And I was like,
Did you
yeah.
find the stuff that I told
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
And then they're like, we never knew. I'm like, well, think about it. Like, people don't just look like that.
yeah, you don't, and you notice he randomly has these giant peaks where he looked really old at the beginning of the season, but right now he looks like he's, 10 years younger.
Yeah.
He's dropping all these crazy performances and he's doing all these crazy dunks. But at the beginning of the year, he could he wasn't getting near as high. He wasn't near as
Had
explosive.
a sore hammy or a sore
Well,
ankle or something.
When you're on steroids or HGH or there's a million different things you can get on, you have to cycle on, kind of on and off. Or that's the health. Not everyone does that, but that's the healthy way to do it. There's a case to be made there.
I know.
There's a case to be made.
And I got them thinking about it a little bit. But at first, they thought I was crazy. I'm like,
Well, I remember that whenever it was, and we were talking about it, and this documentary thing I watched about the giant steroid kind of outbreak is now it's everywhere. Steroids are everywhere now. One of the big giant Miami clinics, like steroid clinics or testosterone clinics or whatever they're called, in Miami. When he was down there was a guy with initials, was it RP, that picked up
I remember about that. Yeah.
thing of testosterone for someone by the initials of LJ. So it's Rich Paul and LeBron James. If you can't figure that out, yeah. So yeah, and then
Well-
and it was the clinic that was providing steroids for tons and tons of professional baseball players and football players at the same time. So this clinic was used for millionaires to come and athletes and get their illegal
Mhm.
steroids and testosterone replacement and whatever peptides and all kinds of other stuff.
This is not what we discussed before the episode.
Yeah.
Oh well.
it's all right. We got other stuff to talk about in other episodes.
That's right.
I just figured we were talking about LeBron. Now you talk about what I.
Yeah.
Please send all your hate mail to sportsthenemo@gmail.com.
All the LeBron fans are gonna go nuts.
That's
I'd
fine.
love to hear your thoughts.
I'll take whatever mail they want to get.
Oh, I don't care.
we might get some Schaller hate mail for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even sure. I don't know. I don't 100% know what he's doing, but there's just some fishy stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
back to what you were kind of saying about LeBron not having to play power forward. Article I was reading today talks about that exact thing, that the Lakers are a preposterously short team, and to have a 6'8" guy with a 7'2" wingspan that they can use down low is a big addition for them.
Well, yeah, because none of their big men want to play their position.
Well, yeah, I mean they use Reeves that's like 6'5" at small forward, and another guy's like 6'6" guard. They've been playing him at small forward and power forward.
And
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, who wants to be a shooting guard at all
Right,
times.
yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe
Although-
he'll help.
On a good note, on all of the main sports betting websites and stuff, Russell Westbrook is number 1 in Sixth Man of the Year right now.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Here we
He is
go.
playing well though. Coming off the bench, he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. He
As
has
of right
been
now,
playing
he's
well.
the number 1 Sixth Man of the Year. I can't think of the right wording for betting, but
He's the favorite.
yes, he's the favorite for Sixth Man of the Year right now, I believe. What is it, like FanDuel, and there's another one?
DraftKings,
and
MGM,
MGM, yeah.
and like 2 other ones.
There's 2 like real big ones. I think it's DraftKings and
FanDuel.
FanDuel, yeah, those two are huge into it.
Yeah, and then it's like Alex's boy from Orlando is running away with Rookie of the Year, and then
Oh, Pablo Ventura.
yeah, and then like
Ventura.
I think it's Matherin's second, but he's everyone's way behind the Orlando guy, and then there were some other ones I can't remember, but most improved players like Laurie Marketing and SGA. Yeah. But anyway.
So, Drew, you had something you wanted to talk about today. What you want to change subjects on us?
Well, Sacramento Kings, if you had told me right now about close to the All-Star break, they've been the number 3 team in the West, I called you crazy. I mean, Aaron Fox and Sabonis are both playing at All-Star caliber levels right now. They're just playing good team basketball, honestly. I mean, they're winning games against quality teams, too. I mean, there's also another fact. Some of these other teams are taking some fat dumps, like the Phoenix Suns. Who else?
The Clippers just got off a real bad start.
Yeah, the Clippers are... Yeah.
Clippers won last night, though, I thought.
Yeah, they're doing good the past couple games, but they dropped below 500 like a week or two ago, and now they're back up to like 1 or 2 games above 500. But they had a rough patch in there.
I mean, the Kings are playing well. It's Sabonis and
Fox.
And then
Fox is averaging 24 points a game, 24 and 6. Sabonis is the beast, though. 18 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yeah.
Shooting 61% from the field.
And I don't think the Kings rookie's doing too bad. That Keegan Murray.
Yeah, Murray's been. I think he's been a little up and down, but he has had some really nice games. Yeah, 12 points, 4 rebounds.
So he's got potential.
Oh yeah,
I think so.
Well, if he can come in as a rookie, everyone's always expecting all these young guys to just automatically be great. But if he can come in your first year and be a good role player on a good team, I mean, that's a win for your franchise.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That was probably one of the most.
Really, just the standings in the East and the West are pretty crazy in spots. Like, the
They are.
separation is so small in the East between, like, the top, was it like 6 or 7?
They'll be fluctuating up and down.
So, like,
all
the
year.
team that's in second, if they lose 2 in a row, they're going to be, like, in the play-in.
Everyone besides the
I guess.
Celtics is basically.
Yeah. Or maybe it's the West I'm thinking of. I don't remember.
No, the East is real bunched up.
Okay, then, yeah.
There's like, there's like 3 games that separate the 2 seed and the 6 seed in the East.
Yeah. See, that's crazy.
I
So
know.
much fluctuation can happen throughout the rest of the season. It's,
I'm just playing a doubleheader. You could go up a couple spots. You could go down.
I mean, with Kevin Durant being out, they've won a couple here recently, but they started off like 0-3 or 0-4. I mean, if depending on how long Durant's out, the Nets, I mean, they're probably gonna lose this game. I mean, they could drop. They were second in the East when he got hurt, and they have potential to drop down those.
Well, if somehow
rankings.
they could come back tonight. They had the same record. Who's second? It's just it's nuts.
So I want to touch on something real quick because none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Tyler just walked in. But Mark, we had a conversation tonight about the UNLV team with Larry Johnson and Stacey Augman and those guys. You correct me if I'm wrong, but you were quite in love with that team, right?
I'll explain that. Yeah. I think the 1990 UNLV team was quite possibly the greatest college team ever. That team beat Duke in the finals by 30.
I told you would talk about this.
In 91, this is just my own personal opinion, I think they threw the game. I don't mean threw it to lose it. I mean, you know how there's a point spread?
You think they were point shaving?
I think they were point shaving. And they were trying to win, but keep the score, keep it under the point spread, and it got away from them. That's what I think.
How much did they lose by in 91?
I want to say they lost by somewhere between 3 and 5. Greg Anthony fouled out, and that sort of was all she wrote. He fouled out with like 2 minutes, 50 seconds left. And that was one of the most heartbreaking weekends of my life.
No, Mark always talks about how they're like just a handful of like super big heartbreaks where like he cried when like something bad happened in sports, and he always brings up the UNLV.
UNLV 1981 when the Celtics came back from 3 games to 1 against Philly. That was another heartbreaking weekend.
How about when the Cavs came back against the Warriors?
And that's like the modern day heartbreaking sports weekend when the Cavs came back from 3-1. I was on I-55 headed to Bloomington when LeBron. I didn't see it when it happened. I heard it. It was tied 89-89. Iguodala, I thought, had in my mind what I'm picturing as a uncontested layup, and there's LeBron come flying in for the block. That was a heartbreaking.
Was Pat in the car with you?
Yes.
Does she not want to be anymore?
No.
That's good stuff. All right, well, we will wrap up the UNLV portion of this episode. Is there any other current NBA topic we want to discuss before we wrap this up, guys?
No.
All right, well, that will do it for this episode. We appreciate you tuning in for this Charlotte Hornets episode, and we would appreciate you tuning in next week for the Chicago Bulls episode. And thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.